Welcome to a wintry Yorkshire. It's now January. I've now had the car for 9 months. You'll see on my previous video I did a bit of a range test when I first got it, where I went out to the Lake District. And this is the rear-wheel drive, the base model. As of yesterday, the price was reduced back down to $42,995, about the equivalent price that it cost you to get a probably equivalent performing BMW 3 Series. And I did this test before, but I charged halfway through. I wanted to do some extensive testing to see how the car would fare over long motorway trips and how far I could actually push it to the maximum. I've gone from Yorkshire to Milton Keynes on 2 occasions in the warmer weather. That trip is almost 300 miles, but you'll see what the car actually managed to do. So 2 of my tests were in warmer temperatures, not boiling hot, sort of like 14-15 degrees, and I managed to get a day where I was going to Reading, which is a lot further than Milton Keynes. So I would have to charge on the way, but what it would do is it would allow me to test how the car loses efficiency in very cold temperatures. The temperature never got above 0 and often most of the day it was -2, so it was perfect for that kind of test. If you're thinking of getting into these fantastic rear-wheel drive base model Teslas, sit back, enjoy the video, let me know what you think in the comments. So this one today is 140 miles each way, so it's 280 miles, so I'm going to be supercharging today. And what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at the efficiency as to how the car's doing so far. So you can see I've just charged it, so we're on 100%, which is currently showing me 270 miles. It's only an estimate. Charged to 100% as always. Remember, this is the LFP car. So we can see that since I got the car, this is trip A. I've never reset that since I bought the car. We've done nearly 2,000 miles. We're averaging 220 watts an hour a mile. I'll get this right this time. But you can see we're averaging 213 over 1,300 miles. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go 140 miles. We're going from near Leeds to Milton Keynes. Right guys, I needed a comfort break, so I've stopped at the lovely Leicester Forest service station. As you can see, it's actually a beautiful day. It's not that warm yet. In fact, it's just gone up 1 degree. It's been about 15 degrees centigrade the whole way down, up until recently. In fact, it's just the traffic's just started moving again on the motorway. The traffic has been not bad at all. I was averaging just over 60 miles an hour. I had it set on autopilot at 68. The efficiency is incredible. Again, as you'll see, I've done nearly 90 miles. I haven't been going particularly slow or anything like that. As I said, it's 68 on the autopilot. Really good average energy. So we're down to 190 watts an hour a mile now. Unfortunately, I forgot to set my trip B going until I'd done 11 miles. So at the end, because this will reset when I stop, at the end we'll have to add 11 miles to this for total distances and efficiency. Right, so we've had our comfort break, and we've got Starbucks. Second coffee of the day. My first in my Disney World 50th anniversary mug from home. So second black coffee of the day. Just to recap, that's saying we've got 190 miles left in the tank. We've done 89, so you know that's saying 279. I think we'll get 270 out of it today. Right guys, we made it to Milton Keynes, 52% of battery left, so This is the standard car, remember, and I can drive from just outside of Leeds. I'm 10 miles south on the M1 of Leeds, get down to Milton Keynes and actually get back as well in the standard car. We've averaged 193 watts an hour a mile, which is really good. No complaints at all. So I could actually get probably all the way back just without charging. If I was going to charge at all, what I'd probably do is I'd wait until I got to Sheffield and to see if I was going to get all the way back or not, and I'd pull in the supercharger at Sheffield, if not, and literally charge it for 5 minutes. I'm going to do a bit of a test today though. Go to Rugby because that's a new supercharger. It's pretty good there to show you that. I'll program in the supercharger, so we'll get a little bit less efficiency heading back because it will start to heat the battery for the supercharger as well. It's 10 o'clock, I'm here on time. Probably be setting back off about 4 o'clock this afternoon, and I'll catch you on heading back, and probably when we're at Rugby. Right guys, we had a real change of plan. I was going to come off at Rugby, but the traffic was apparently really bad to get back onto the M1 off at Rugby, so I put in to navigate to home, thinking it would put me another supercharger on the way back. It didn't. It said I could get back with 10%, which I was really sceptical of, and I didn't think I would do. That then subsequently dropped down as I continued driving on to 3% to get home. I was still slightly sceptical that I'd get back with 3%. The problem was, for about 30 miles I was heating the battery, so it used more power than it otherwise would have done. I thought, shall I try and get back? And so I dropped the speed to basically 65 miles an hour on the way back, thinking I might just make it. I got a bit too nervous, so as we were coming past Woodall, I thought I'd come here and charge. The problem is it's really busy. There's only 8 superchargers here. It's not brilliant. They're old superchargers as well. I'm sharing it with other people, as you can see. So unfortunately I can't really do a supercharger speed test here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a little bit of juice and then set off back. The thing is, I could possibly have just made it back. Certainly I could have done if I hadn't had it on pre-charge, and if I hadn't kept Sentry on as well, I think, when I was in Milton Keynes. Such a shame really, because that would have been a real test. I think I'd have probably got 270 miles out of it. Right, we made it back. Interesting. I put 14% in the supercharger, so we would literally have made it back probably with 1%. As I said before, a couple of things about this. It was on battery preheat for 30 or 40 miles when I thought I was going to Rugby. But given that it was preheating unnecessarily, given also that I did drive, when I came off at Woodall, I drove across the internal roads, and it preheated again the battery for that supercharge. If I hadn't preheated, I think I'd have probably have got back with about 3 or 4%. So looking at the total distance, this is my trip B, which, remember, I didn't reset until I think it was 10.5, 11 miles in. So that's I've literally done today 283 miles. Today, what we're going to do today is the second part of our test. So it's probably about 8 weeks on now since I did the trip from basically south of Leeds down to Milton Keynes, 280 miles. I chickened out on the last one. I charged at Sheffield and I would just, I think, have got back. So I really maxed out this car. So what I thought I'd do is I'd do the same journey and film it again today, and see what we do today, and see whether we can still achieve to about 280 miles. And I might, if I'm brave enough or stupid enough, just push it so that I get there and back. What I also did is I've pre-conditioned the car, so whether that will make much of a difference I'm not sure. But for those who don't have a Tesla, you can set it for departure time and it sets your climate for you. and it warms the battery up all from the mains electricity rather than it doing it from the battery once you set off. Should in theory give you a bit more distance. You'll recall on the last video I had intended to charge at Rugby to show you how it charged at Rugby, and then I cancelled that, so that wasted a bit of battery. This time I think I'm just going to go for it. I am going to be travelling on the motorway around 68 to 70 miles per hour, so this is trying to be a real world test rather than doing it all at 55. Right guys, so we made it on time. Good trip down. Very difficult, isn't it, really, to do a real world test and say this is going to happen in every circumstance, because you have different weather, you have different traffic conditions. So all we can do is do these runs and then see basically what we do on average on them. What I am going to do is what I didn't do last time, is I left the Sentry on last time. That will probably, I'm going to be here all day, so that will probably drain it 1-2% over the day. So I'm turning that off this time because we're trying to maximise the distance. So let's have a look at how we've done. Right, so you can see I've done 141 miles, so it is a 280 mile journey. I've averaged only 181, which is just unbelievable, really. Absolutely incredible. And Tesla did an amazing job with the car estimating how much battery you'll have. It said 55, probably about 50 miles from home, something like that. As I say, it takes into account the wind and everything now. And guess what? We arrive exactly on 55, 141 miles later. I just don't know how to do that. That does amaze me, because it is so accurate. Normally within 1, maybe 2% maximum. I've seen it ever since the fairly recent update. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I'll be a bit nervous as I pass the superchargers going back, particularly the one at Sheffield. But I'm going to go for it, hopefully. And hopefully we can get back. In fact, if we can do it back at anything like we've come down, we're probably looking at over 300 miles on this trip on a single charge. So absolutely brilliant. Well, it wasn't good. No, only joking, it was fine. 5% left. In fact, it was 6. I've just had a client call me, so I've been speaking to him on the phone for nearly 50 minutes in the car. So this is the trip. So we did 283 miles and we averaged 188 watt hours a mile. Used 53 kilowatts an hour for that. So 283 miles, is this a 280 mile car? It certainly is, because we have 5% battery left. If we add on another 5%, just working that out, that's another 14 miles. So that's now on 300 miles, isn't it? It is really 300 miles, just shy, certainly 295. So this is the standard car. I mean, Tesla have built such an efficient car here. I think it's probably the most efficient EV on the road. You can see 188 there. Right guys, good morning. You've seen my summer or early autumn range tests. This car's been amazing. 300 miles. I've been consistently getting on long journeys, but unfortunately now the cold weather's set in. It's currently 7 AM, 6:59, and it's -2 degrees centigrade this morning. I have noticed driving around on short journeys, the car's not quite, but nearly a third less efficient. Probably about 30%, 28% less efficient so far. But what I haven't done yet is taken a really cold day for the UK, which is today, so it's -2 degrees centigrade, as I said this morning, and gone on a really long trip where this car appears to be very efficient on long trips. As I say, I've been getting 300 miles consistently, as you've seen from the other videos. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go from Yorkshire to Reading. It's 187 miles, and it's currently saying I'll have 22% battery left, which probably puts me, without doing the math specifically, will put me probably 38, probably about 240 miles, nearly 235 miles, something like that. So that would lead me to believe again that we've probably got something like about a 25 to 30% drop off due to the temperatures. But let's see if that happens in practice. Car is preheated. Preheat the car up because this is real world. We're going to try and get as much as we can out of it, and that's what you'd do on a cold morning like this. You won't want to be defrosting your car as you get up. Brilliant thing about a Tesla, if you don't know, or any electric car, is you can just set them to heat up. Another thing I would mention before we set off is I've noticed that the heat pump on this is fantastic, or the heater on this car. It literally defrosts the windows if you get into the car and switch it on within minutes. So again, another advantage of electric cars over ICE vehicles. Right, we've got an hour left. Just stopped for a comfort break and a coffee, Pret coffee. Actually prefer, there's a Costa there, I prefer Pret personally. Beautiful December day here, but very, very cold. It's still 0 degrees. We're averaging 235 watts an hour a mile at the moment, and we've done 152 miles. So it's still looking about 240 that this car can do in winter conditions. So anyway, we'll see how we are when we get there. Right guys, it's nearly 4 o'clock, so I couldn't look at it when I arrived because I was in such a rush. Had a good time with my clients today. Just looking at the efficiency of this. It's just dropped to 16 with the heater coming on, so it's used more than expected to get down here, which is really interesting because in the warmer weather it seems to overestimate the consumption. In the colder weather it's underestimating it. But then again, it may be because it's used to an algorithm which is based on previous use, when obviously I was getting more miles. So just in terms of how we've done then, just looking at this closely, so this is, it was obviously charged, so I've done 194 miles and I've used 45 kilowatts, which should give me about 15 kilowatts left. It's clearly used a bit more than that based on the percentage, which is interesting. Now it could be sometimes these cars, these LFP cars, have a bit of an issue with regards to calibration. And really interestingly, when I was charging it, just about to get in it today, it said battery calibrating. I've never seen that before. So whether I've really got a bit more than 16%, and it might be because I didn't charge it for about 10 days. These like to be charged every week, and as I understand it, they have a variable buffer in them, and if it can't calibrate it, because they find it quite difficult because of the LFP chemistry, then sometimes the buffer extends. So I am wondering whether really I've possibly got a bit more than 16% left. So based on this, I mean, I'd only get probably about 220 miles out of it, maybe 230 if I run it to 0, which is well below the 300 I'm getting in summer. So you can see how it does drop off. As I suspected, it's going to take me to the Redbridge Supercharger, which is brilliant because that's a fairly new one. So we're going, and I'll show you how it supercharges. Well, we made it. Oxford Redbridge, 2% left. So it was using a lot because it's trying to keep the battery warm for the charge. So that would have eaten into the battery, but 220 miles. So 230 probably tops actually, but it would have used a bit more. So 230 in the winter. This car, it's -2, it's freezing. So I'll go and stick the charger and then we'll see how the supercharger does. In terms of charging speed, it's okay, it's 106. So I'm at Redbridge now. Thankfully I've got some pillock who's decided to come and park in front of me and shine his headlights straight into my car as I'm sat here trying to watch a bit of YouTube. So I thought it's a good bit of studio lighting for me to finish off my video. Yeah, so what's my thoughts? Well, this is a 290 to 300 mile car in summer, as we know from my other tests. In winter, it is a 230 mile car, I would say. I was thinking it would probably be 240, but to be on the safe side, I wouldn't want to put my name to that. I think it's 230 on a freezing cold -2 to 0 day. Yeah, it's good. 230 is pretty good, but obviously we are losing really 70 miles due to the cold temperature compared to what it would do on a warm day. At least 60 miles anyway. So my simple maths tell me that if it's lost 60 miles and it would normally do 300, it loses 20% on long journeys in cold weather. So 20%, that's probably about standard, I imagine, across cars, and I don't think probably the LFP battery has lost any more than maybe another car. But if you could, if you've got other information, post it below because I'm really interested to know. For example, if the other Tesla batteries don't lose as much in winter, or lose more indeed. You're still my favorite queen.